On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about In the Court of the Crimson King by King Crimson. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
We're two professional broadcasters. We like metal. And we like to talk about it, but we like other kinds of music too.
Right.
And a couple times a year, we set aside a month to talk about things we love that aren't metal. Indeed. And this is an album that I think is very important to a lot of people who
and
play metal.
Right. To this inspired a lot of metal music.
Absolutely. But is also incredibly important outside of metal in the general rock world.
Right.
1969's In the Court of the Crimson King by King Crimson. That's fun to say.
It is.
In the Court of the Crimson King by King Crimson. You try it.
In the Court of the Crimson King by King Crimson.
There we go. It's fun.
It is fun.
It is fun. It's like a tongue twister. But very important progressive rock album that came out when progressive rock was barely a thing.
Right. Barely a thing. I mean, you had the Moody Blues, you had Pink Floyd, you had...
I think Pink Floyd was barely even a thing at this point.
Yeah, their first album came out in 1967.
Okay,
right?
okay.
Piper at the Gates of Dawn.
They wouldn't get big for a little while longer, but
they had a bit time to grow.
But this band didn't spend a whole lot of time growing.
Yeah, I love
this
that
band
fact.
just kind of exploded in onto the scene. Essentially, we'll talk about the story as we understand it of King Crimson a bit later on. But first, how are you doing?
Fantastic.
Okay, well that's nice.
What's going on?
What are you doing?
I don't know. Man, it's September already.
Are you Butters?
They did sound like Butters.
No hamburgers.
I don't. Not much is happening. I mean,
it is weird that it's September already. The kids are in.
It is.
Kids are in school.
Kids are in school.
Kids are in school.
Don't know how much longer that's going to be.
Well, yeah, because people can't put a fucking mask on their face and get an injection in their arm.
Sure. Because that freedom.
Yeah, it's freedom. I hopefully, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what I hope for at this point.
Yeah.
I got my second shot last week right before we started recording. And Thursday morning I felt a bit under the weather. I felt like kind of that first day when you know you're sick when you have the flu. Right. Like the first day when you're like, oh, I'm sick, but you're not like really far into it. Yeah. Where you just feel like the tiniest bit like drunk almost.
Yeah, and you're achy and you're
a little achy. That's how I felt. It actually got worse after I got home from work.
Yeah.
And it got towards bedtime because by the time I slipped into bed, it was like that feeling where you have sort of that full body fever and you like slip into like cold sheets and you're like, oh,
yeah,
like it feels really good because your skin on your entire body is hot.
You know, we have a blanket at our house that is meant to always just be cold.
Yeah,
the material it's made out of.
That must be awesome.
Very awesome.
But yeah, it's just like it felt like I slipped into bed. And I was like, this feels really, really good. But the next morning I was absolutely fine.
Sure.
So yeah, I was mildly annoyed throughout Thursday, and that was the worst of it. I had a slight headache, and I felt tired, which was hardly a change from any given.
Day. Come to think of it, how did you differentiate between your normal
exactly
headachy tiredness?
Yeah, is hardly even a change. But it was all right. It's not anything. It's not bad. I mean, some people have bad reactions, but that's the worst of it.
Right.
Some people get sick, but I don't know. Statistically, it's very unlikely that something bad will happen to you. That just goes for everything. Right. Don't live your lives in fear. What could go wrong?
When you think about it, there's really only one thing that can kill you.
Dying.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying there's going to be one thing, and then anything after that one thing,
true.
It's not going to kill you anymore because you're already dead.
You are only going to die of one thing.
Right.
There can be multiple contributing factors.
Sure, but ultimately,
there'll be one thing that gets you. Sure, yeah. That's a decent way of looking at it, I guess.
If you were run over by a train and then somebody say poisons you, that was a waste of their time.
Yeah, because that was a waste of poison. That poison could have been used to kill someone else.
Exactly.
Don't waste your poison, people.
That's actually pretty good advice when you think about it.
Don't waste your poison.
Don't waste your poison.
Don't waste your time hating someone who doesn't deserve your hate.
Yeah, doesn't deserve your emotion and energy.
Yeah.
I'm an asshole. Yeah, okay, whatever.
Good for you.
Good for you.
Save your poison and your ammunition for someone who really deserves it.
Right.
And that can actually be hurt by it.
Because there are a lot of people that do deserve it. And should be heard.
This is a weird tangent we're on, and it's verging on not okay. So I think I'm gonna put the kibosh on it here.
All right, go ahead.
We can't keep going down.
I could go on for an hour.
We can't keep going down this road, in the case that someone takes it a little too personally.
Yeah. You ever seen the movie The Fisher King?
No, I haven't.
Oh.
What's it about?
That's the premise behind the movie, which, by the way, doesn't actually work in the 21st century.
Why?
It's because it's Jeff Bridges, and he's sort of a loudmouth asshole talk radio host.
Okay.
And somebody calls in and said they found love, and he says, "No, you didn't. You were in a yuppie club. Those yuppie assholes. Fuck those guys. They deserve to die, all of them." And so the caller goes into the club and shoots like 6 people. I mean,
Jesus.
In the 21st century, that wouldn't even make local news.
Oh, that's the angle you were going.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But that's why it wouldn't work now. But but that's the premise of the movie. And Robin Williams plays the guy who
killed all the people,
and then goes completely insane and becomes a homeless person.
Oh, jeez, that's depressing. See, for me, this doesn't make sense because I'm imagining Jeff Bridges being an asshole, and I don't know if I've seen a movie where Jeff Bridges. Okay, Iron Man. In the first Iron Man, he's a bad guy.
Yes, he is.
Most other movies that I've seen Jeff Bridges in, he's usually playing just kind of a Jeff Bridges-y kind of dude.
Yeah.
If not the dude. Then it's a Jeff Bridges-y kind of dude.
Sure.
And the man just gives off a very pleasant vibe.
He does.
He's not actually the dude, but his vibe is still pretty.
I feel like it's not much of a divergence.
Yeah. The dude's a little bit spacier,
sure,
but I think Jeff Bridges has it together a bit more than the dude, but
or at least it did at one point. I feel like lately I've seen interviews with him. What the hell movie was that where he was a country singer? It was a great movie.
Yeah, Crazy Heart.
Yeah,
Crazy Heart.
I think so. Yeah, Crazy Heart. I remember seeing an interview with him when he was talking about Crazy Heart. You could tell he was trailing off a lot there during the interview, thinking about other shit.
What year was recreational marijuana legalized in California?
Right, the legalization. That's what changed people.
Because people in California and celebrities especially
never smoked marijuana.
White celebrities especially had to be so concerned about the laws of smoking recreational marijuana.
Right.
But I don't know. Jeff Bridges just seems like a pretty chillaxed person.
Indeed.
I feel like I want to be that dude who's just relaxed and chill. I can't.
No, you can't. No,
I'm like a dog kind of where like I sort of match the vibe of whatever's around me, and I adapt to whatever the vibe is by amplifying it, which is not often a good thing because if people are stressed out,
right,
I'm gonna get stressed out, and then I'm gonna make things worse by me being stressed out.
I will actually. I'm sort of a chameleon. I'm a little bit of a mimic. If I'm in a room full of people who behave a certain way, I will develop their mannerisms.
Yeah.
Mannerisms?
Mannerism.
It's like
That's a band name.
Mannerism?
Mannerism?
Sure.
Mannerism. It could be a thing.
All right.
But yeah, we both do this thing where if we are talking to someone with a distinct accent, we just kind of start mimicking it a little bit in a way that's probably insulting.
Which could potentially be insulting. I mean, if someone sounds Southern and you start talking Southern too.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not usually a hard edge, but some of the euphemisms I might use. And it's completely unconscious. Just like not even necessarily an accent, more like the mannerisms, which is a big part of someone's accents. Mannerisms is a huge part of the way people talk, more than just tone of voice.
Right. It's a bigger picture.
Yeah, which is like you can have a Southern person who is if a Southern person is very good at mimicry, and does a perfect standard American accent.
Right.
Could be from anywhere in the United States, but they are still talking, with their folksy aphorisms. You can tell that they're Southern.
Sure.
Just certain things. Unconsciously calling, any random pop Coke.
Have a Coke, yeah. Well, that's more Texas.
That's Texas. Well, it depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
Quinn was from New Mexico and said New Mexico and Arizona, and said there was people who call it Coke, which that's the Southwest to me.
Yeah.
Who the fuck in the Southwest is calling it Coke?
Well, Texas is kind of Southwest.
Yeah, but Texas is sort of split down the middle between Southern and Southwest.
Because, they were a Confederate state.
Yes. Like Houston and Dallas, that's the South. Austin and San Antonio, and there's another big one, El Paso. That's the Southwest.
Yeah.
There's a dividing line about down the middle.
When I go visit my parents, that's where I land, is El Paso.
El Paso, Texas.
And they live in New Mexico, which is
Mexico's very Southwest, in my opinion.
Yes. Their house is 40 miles north of El Paso.
Okay. Yeah, because the Texas Panhandle is down.
Right.
That's where El Paso's at.
Yeah, I remember the first time I landed in El Paso, and wow, El Paso's a lot bigger city than I thought it was going to be. And somebody politely said, "Oh yeah, all of that
is Mexico.
It's Juarez.
Yeah, all of that is Juarez. Juarez is very big.
Yeah,
Juarez is not a small town on the other side of the river. It's pretty sizable. But brain talk. I did a silly thing over the weekend. I was showing you the end result of the silly thing I did.
Well, because we heard from our friend Jeff, our coworker.
Yeah, that one of the guys at the record store, a friend of his was moving out of town, and he had a huge collection of D&D stuff that he could not bring with him and was looking to sell. He gave it to Dylan at the record store to basically sell off. And I was like, well, I'm looking for a bunch of minis and stuff. I got an in-person campaign and, a pretty small collection of minis that I'm looking to expand. And so
which you did a little bit.
Yeah. After work, I went down to the record store. I talked to Dylan and he was like, okay, well, I'll bring it in tomorrow. You come on by, take a look at it. Holy shit. There was a lot. And I bought all of it for a price that I'm not willing to state because I'm mildly embarrassed about it.
Yeah. In your defense, I keep saying you got more than that amount.
Yeah, I got more than what I paid. It's in a sense I got a steal. I paid more than the offer just for the sentimental value of it all. But
if they did try to sell each individual piece, it would be well over 4 figures.
Yeah, it would have been worth a lot more, which is not what I paid.
Right.
But it was a sizable chunk. But on the other hand, I will rarely have to buy D&D minis again.
Yeah, if ever.
Ever's not. I'm absolutely gonna buy D&D.
Sure.
I won't have to buy D&D minis again, but I will buy D&D minis again. because there's going to be some specific monster that I want to use that I don't have that I might buy.
Was there a Tarrasque in there?
No. I don't know if there's ever been an official Tarrasque Mini.
Really?
For some reason. I think it's like every Tarrasque Mini that you can find online is third party.
Wow.
The Nalzer's Miniatures line or whatever, the unpainted plastic ones. I don't believe they have a Tarrasque. And I was looking at Mini Marketplace and they didn't have I'd searched Tarrasque. They didn't have anything on Mini Marketplace. It's like, really?
Picturing a tiny grocery store.
Oh yeah, it's just
Mini
it's
Marketplace.
It's
our grocery stores
market.
here,
Yeah, Marketplace Foods, but very small.
Yeah.
It's for the toys from Toy Story. That's the only small thing I could think of. They're toys. They don't need to eat.
Small soldiers.
They also don't need to eat.
Also toys.
It's for Matt Damon in that one movie, Downsizing.
Oh, sure. Oh, right. Yeah.
Which I ruined for myself because I was thinking about it because there's a scene where they have like a full size bottle of vodka that has a big spigot. And they pour out into their tiny, tiny little cups so they can drink it. It's like, hey, look at that. Like, that's the whole thing about the downsizing is that everything's cheaper because you're small and you don't need it.
Right.
But the problem is, I don't know what their technology involved with making you smaller. But if all of your atoms and molecules are smaller, you would die instantly. Well, not instantly. You would suffocate because molecules of oxygen would be too large to bond with your new tiny body chemistry. So none of that would work. And this is why I'm not fun at parties.
My wife does the same thing.
Yeah.
She's a spoiler.
I just can't. There are times where I can't not think about shit like that. But it's always a delight when I find something that I'm interested in where I don't have those problems, not because I'm not thinking about it, but because they thought about it too.
Right.
Like it's nice finding media like that where there aren't problems like that come up. We are drinking some very sour ales, and I imagine you just tried to breathe. You just tried to inhale.
I did.
Some beer. Good job.
It's in my esophagus.
Your esophagus.
Yeah.
It's one of the things I like about The Expanse is that I don't have a lot of glaring like logical problems with the way the world works there because they've thought about that stuff.
Right. They thought about what's the engine called?
The Epstein drive.
The Epstein drive.
which has at this point in real world history an unfortunate name. But
it's powered by young girls.
Oh God. But they have like the Epstein drive is kind of hand wavy, like like it's
you gotta have some of that.
Just a tiniest bit. Everything else around it works well enough. The understanding it's a fairly accurate recreation of orbital mechanics and what it actually is to fly around in space in the real world
and exist in outer space.
Yeah.
Right? It's pretty
not
cool.
Space is not just more sky where you can fly around the same way you fly around in an airplane.
Right.
Like that's how it works in Star Wars.
And what's cool about that engine, that Epstein drive, is that it kind of goes on forever unless you kill it, because it won't kill itself.
Yeah. I saw that coming. 10 million miles away.
You saw that one strolling up Broadway.
Yeah. I had my sights on that one.
Sure.
From across the grassy knoll. I just didn't pull the trigger on it. I let it drive on by. And history was forever altered.
Sure.
What if... How would history be altered if Kennedy wasn't assassinated? Do you think the Russians would have beat us to the moon?
I don't know.
There's got to be a some sort of like comic book or something that explores the possibility of like, what if Kennedy wasn't assassinated? What if like they caught everyone involved beforehand and Kennedy lived out his presidency? How would the war in Vietnam have been altered? How would the space race have changed?
I feel like there was an episode of The Outer Limits that touched on this.
The Outer Limits.
The Outer Limits, yeah. Somebody went into a world before and like stopped the Kennedy assassination, but his whole thing, and this is stupid. I remember thinking it was stupid when I was a kid.
Okay.
Is that he dropped a 50-cent piece out of his pocket and it had Kennedy's head on it. Oh.
Why does that coin have my face on it? Please explain to me why this coinage has my face on it. Currently, the 50-cent piece has... Who was on the 50-cent piece before Kennedy?
I don't know.
Or was there even a president on the 50-cent piece before? I don't know who was on it before Kennedy. Was it just the eagle? Because I know that was the coin, the dollar coin. It was the gold eagle or whatever, the American eagle or whatever they called it. It was the gold.
Then they had the Sacagawea.
Yeah, is the dollar coin.
Yeah,
those are just collectibles.
And Susan B. Anthony. Yeah.
My nose is itchy, but brain. There was a thing that occurred to me, but I don't remember.
Do you remember what it was?
Don't remember what.
Do you remember what is regarding? Do you remember what we're talking about?
Oh, I was thinking about just like the what if stuff.
Oh, sure.
Of like, what if Kennedy wasn't assassinated?
I'm sure someone's written that.
And did Kennedy get assassinated in Watchmen? Because I know in Watchmen.
Yes, and the comedian did it.
Yeah, that's what it was in Watchmen. Okay, that's how it was different. And Reagan was president in Watchmen, right?
During the show, yeah.
Well, the new TV show, Robert Redford is president. Because they wanted to, like the HBO.
That's right. They made a Watchmen TV show.
Yeah, which is apparently pretty good.
Yeah.
The HBO series, Robert Redford is president and he plays himself.
Sure.
But because the TV show takes place in the modern day. And it's a basically like, 30 years down the line from what happened in the graphic novels.
Was it Reagan or was it maybe Nixon's third term? I can't remember what it was. It was, I want to say it was Nixon's third term.
It was different and interesting. At some point I should read Watchmen. Yeah. I'm not really a graphic novel person. The only graphic novels I've ever read are the Walking Dead ones. And I'm not, anywhere close to up to date on those. I'm probably about 5 years behind on them.
Well, yeah, that's the thing with the Watchmen. I mean, you buy just one big book and
just one.
Yeah,
it's the only one there is.
It was more than when it was.
Now it's just one.
Yeah, you buy it as one.
Yeah, it came out as a whole bunch, but it was only ever that limited run. Because that's how Alan Moore do. Mm-hmm. And then he's angry about everything. Does anything make Alan Moore happy, you think?
I don't know.
Angry British wizard nerd. Alan Moore.
I don't know.
I've
never met the guy.
Do you think King Crimson would make Alan Moore happy? He is British.
I'm sure he's listened to his fair share of cream crimson.
Cream corn. Is King Crimson related to King Diamond?
No.
Not at all.
He's Danish.
Yes. Well, that doesn't mean anything. It's the UK.
True.
That's the Danes were in charge of England for a while, for like 70 years.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
Right.
But, had a pretty long-term impact on the culture of England.
I feel like the reign of King Diamond came after the reign of King Crimson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a decade after.
Right.
The reign of King Crimson came the reign of King. Well, it's a decade and a half, I guess. Or no. Because there's Merciful Fate. Yeah. But then I was thinking King Diamond solo stuff.
Right.
Would be 80s.
86 or 7.
I don't know. You should bring another King Diamond album.
I'm down.
At some point. Halloween is coming.
Sweet, yes.
Is that our October tradition? Is
scary stuff?
Well, I mean, our October tradition is always like kind of spooky albums.
Uh-huh.
But if the Halloween episode is King Diamond,
that'd be great.
We should do Halloween episodes, our King Diamond albums, 100%.
Because we ever run out of death stuff, there's actually a King Diamond Christmas.
Oh, yeah, that's right. There's no presents for Christmas. King Diamond. But I mean, one day we will run out of Death albums. But once we run out of Death albums, then we could do Death albums. Sure. By that I mean the Death Clock albums, which are called Death Album 1, Death Album 2, Death Album 3.
I'm down with that. I told you my wife figured out. Well, sorry, didn't know that Death Clock was a cartoon band.
Well, because I mean, their music is all available, and it's real,
totally legit,
real music, and it's good because Brendan Small is into that. But yeah, it's. I think there are some other people that didn't know that necessarily. One thing that bugged me a little bit is the incredibly popular Bat Metal animated videos. They're funny animated videos, but they're just Death Clock songs. And there's a bunch of people thinking that they're, that's
for Batman.
That's the Bat Metal videos. It's like, no, this is Death Clock, and it's a real thing. Go watch Metalocalypse, please. Convince Adult Swim to make more. But they're making another movie. I wish they
made a movie.
It's not really a movie. It was an hour-long rock opera special. It was the Doomstar Requiem, which is that was the last thing we ever got from Metalocalypse, and then it sort of left off from there. It left a lot of things open. Like, okay, it needs one more season. Is really what it needs. It needs another season, and then everything could wrap up. And like. The prophesized Metalocalypse needs to happen essentially, and then the show can be over with. But because Brendan Small has finally been able to do live shows as Death Clock again, because there was a while where he wasn't allowed to do that
because Cartoon Network on the rights.
Yeah. And so he wasn't allowed to tour as Death Clock anymore, and he wasn't allowed to make more albums as Death Clock, which is why he has his Galacticon thing now,
right?
Which lets him most of Galacticon stuff is meant to be spacier and kind of like prog rockier a little bit, not prog rockier, but more progressive than Death Clock,
right?
But let's get back to King Crimson. So In the Court of the Crimson King was King Crimson's debut album that came out not terribly long after they debuted just as a band,
right?
Which is kind of insane. So there had been kind of a rotating cast of people that had been trying to get together and make a band for a while. It was Giles, and Fripp.
Right. The Giles brothers.
The Giles brothers and Robert Fripp had been working together for a while and made one album together that actually got a fair bit of attention. They kind of almost broke through, and then that didn't materialize. And then they were sort of, looking around and looking for people to work with, and they got the band together. So the band at this time in 1969, when this album came out, consisted of Robert Fripp on guitars, and he has remained the only constant member of King Crimson. Then we have Michael Giles on drums. We have Greg Lake on lead vocals and bass. We have Ian McDonald, who plays reeds and keys. And then there's Peter Sinfield, who wrote the lyrics but didn't really play an instrument in the band.
Right. He was the lyricist.
He was considered a member of the band, but and he did production, and they're all credited as producers on this. They got this gang together and started writing songs. They made their live debut at some club in April of 1969, and then by July of 1969, they were opening for the Rolling Stones in front of somewhere between 250 and 500,000 people. How the fuck does that happen?
That's got to be, luck and connections.
And just and that sort of shit, we were talking about this earlier today, that sort of shit does not happen today.
Right.
Unless you really know some people and and it's full on nepotism. There is a point where I understand, where it's it's about who you know, and sometimes it's a good thing when, if you are really talented, and you know somebody who can get you out in front of a bunch of people and get you popular really quick, that can be a good thing, because otherwise maybe this really cool thing that you did would be lost in the sea of everything else. That I can see some value in that. And then there's a point where that just becomes straight up nepotism and it's gross. Of just like, you have no talent. Why are you're only here because your daddy owns the record label. It's nasty. But this, I don't know how that materialized, but playing for an insanely large crowd. And yeah, this album came out. I can't remember what month it was that In the Court of the Crimson King came out.
I think it was
69.
I think it was the middle of the year. It was
the middle of the year.
The middle.
Woo. What does Wikipedia say? June. Yeah. Oh, so it came out before their Stones performance. Their opening show for the Stones.
They had that stuff that maybe 2 or 3 people knew.
Yeah. some of the people in the crowd maybe had heard of.
Right.
But this was pretty revolutionary at the time. There was not a lot of stuff like this. The idea of prog rock was pretty new in the sense of like basically, when you boil it down, progressive rock in the late 60s and early 70s just kind of came down to, we're a rock band with a jazz drummer. And
our songs are 8 minutes long.
And, at some points, some of us might pick up a different instrument and play that for a little bit.
Right.
And that was progressive rock, essentially, was, we have a jazz drummer and they can do things other than 4/4.
And this
how novel.
This album has 5 songs on it, and it's
I mean, technically you could consider them several songs in one. It doesn't listen like that.
No.
When you're listening to the 21st Century Schizoid Man,
right,
at no point do you hear a delineation between what is considered in quotes to be other songs within that track.
Right.
It's all one piece to my ear.
Yeah, even when you're the
Now I'm thinking of fucking Cowboy Bebop,
which I hope they don't fuck up.
Yeah, they will. They will.
Yeah,
it's Netflix adapting an anime. It'll be bad. They haven't done a good job yet. They've done a good job making I hear the Castlevania anime is really good. But as far as adapting anime to live action, they've not done a good job with that so far. Also, it's a movie, isn't it? It's not a full series. It's just a movie.
Oh, I thought it was going to be a series.
Maybe it is going to be a series. I don't know. I just think it's weird. Anyway, because so much of Cowboy Bebop is the style,
right? And
you can't have
the art.
You can't have the style and the art in live action.
Right.
It's hard to translate those things. Also, because Cowboy Bebop's vision of the future is now so weirdly outdated.
Yeah.
It's sort of that Star Trek original series problem.
Right.
Where it's like, we have much better stuff than this now.
Yeah.
But anywho, Court of the Crimson King. Does this album slap?
Sometimes.
Yeah, I guess sometimes, it's in not in the same sense as our usual stuff we listen to.
Right. No, yeah.
Where we say that slaps. But yeah, sometimes I suppose. Most of the time, though, no.
No, it doesn't.
When you're into your 4th minute of fucking noodling on Moonchild.
That's what's one thing I love about Moonchild is generally received as the least favorite song on the album, but
it's true for me.
But one thing I love about the song,
I like the first 3 minutes of that song.
2.5 minutes. I know it's exactly 2.5 minutes of song, and the way it comes off to me, because there's a story in my head.
Yeah.
Is that they're doing this slow plodding child, and you got a call in here. It's very important. You got to come take it. And then
so everyone's just practicing.
Right. Greg Lake has to leave and go talk to his mom for 9 minutes and then let the tape rolling. And this is just the shit that sort of happened while everybody is standing around staring off into space.
Just Michael's on the drums.
There's no rhyme or reason to any of it.
There's no sense to it. And it's There are points, though, infuriatingly, where it's about to become a song again, and then it never does. It's 10 and a half minutes long.
Yeah.
And the last
8 minutes.
8 minutes are fucking nothing.
Yeah.
I sound very, very, angry about this. It was enjoyable the first time through.
Yeah.
On subsequent re-listens, I was like, and skipping to the Court of the Crimson King, 2 minutes, 30 seconds in. All right. And we're going to skip to the next song. I don't need to experience this again. I know what it is.
You know what's about to happen.
I know what's about to happen. I'm not going to have any deep revelations or little things.
Right.
Oh, I never heard that before. No.
Right.
Because most of the time, it's not even, the instruments aren't even layered on top of each other. It's one at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I feel like they're standing there smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody's over here having a salad.
They don't know what to do with their hands.
Yeah.
So they're instrumentalists. So they're going to play their instrument.
We'll come back any moment now. And
Greg will get back in here and we'll record the last song.
Yeah. And just he walks in and says, you know what, guys,
call it for today.
Tomorrow. Yeah.
Got to call it for today. Let's head up to the, apartment. That's usually there's an apartment attached to, music studios.
It's
for
me,
some
Mum.
reason.
I gotta go.
I gotta go take care of me, Mum. My friend Tony, he's had an accident at the factory. He's lost part of his finger, he has.
Because apparently King Crimson and Black Sabbath were thick as thieves.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that, all British musicians in the late 60s and early 70s all, were close personal friends with each other.
Exactly.
There were no rivalries, no butting heads to be had there. Just good fun and friendly times.
Sure.
But
there is one song on this album that goes to my head almost daily,
which
it's the song that describes what we do.
21st Century Schizoid Man.
I Talk to the Wind.
Oh yeah. Well, and because that song is so fun because it is it's very relaxing, but in a very no thoughts, head empty kind of way.
Yeah.
Of just it's so lackadaisical and relaxing in a very fun way. And that does feel a little bit how I feel sometimes at work. I'm in this box talking to no one.
The wind does not hear.
There's a lot of 21st century 21st Century Schizoid Man and Epitaph both feel very timely. Like timeless, but in a sense where oh no, this fits the vibe of the modern era for sure. Because Epitaph is kind of an apocalyptic song.
It is.
And there's a lot of stuff in there a lot of lyrics in there that is oh yeah, no, I identify with that. That makes sense. I understand that. This hasn't been lost on us. We haven't developed a utopian society where the problems described in these lyrics no longer exist. No, they're still very much around. I like that when albums from many moons ago still matter in that way.
And I actually feel like today, this era, this handful of years that we're in right now, really is like a callback to the late 1960s.
Yeah. And especially, there's been so many comparisons that are not. I don't think they're inappropriate between the situation in Afghanistan and the situation in Vietnam in the early 70s, and the way that the U.S. pulled out of Vietnam. There's been some comparisons there, and I think that's relatively appropriate. Early 70s into the mid 70s, of course, there's the gas crisis. There's economic crises going on. There's and many historians and philosophers have noted how cyclical history tends to be.
Yes, because people don't learn shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Generally, or we learn the wrong thing. We pick up the wrong lesson on a societal, cultural level, we pick up on the wrong thing. And all of the people who are saying you're picking up on the wrong thing are ignored.
Right. Man, I wonder how somebody from 67, 68, 69, what if you brought them to now? What would they say?
I mean, they'd probably be pretty fucking excited that we're no longer under constant threat of nuclear annihilation.
That'd probuld be great, yeah.
They'd probably be pretty fucking jazzed about that. But a lot of other stuff, yeah, I don't know. It's probably... They would probably be incredibly disappointed that we're not like colonizing other planets and shit.
Where's your jetpack and flying car?
Oh, those exist, but they're not feasible. All of the dreams that we had are possible, but they just aren't economic.
It's not realistic.
It's not realistic. It's possible, but not realistic. It's like we lost a lot of steam on the space race after we got to the moon.
Right.
We lost a lot of steam on that. There was no longer a big goal. It's just kind of like, I guess we keep doing it.
Yeah, we went to the moon, what, 6 times?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. I think 17 was the last. Right. Well, we missed one of them in between 11 and 16.
13.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, this one Tom Hanks was on.
Yeah. Tom Hanks was going up to the moon with Bill Paxton and the other guy. Who was it?
Well, it was
Tom Hanks, Bill Paxton, and
it was Lieutenant Dan was. He was on the ground.
He was on the ground because he had the mumps.
Right.
He had to stay home, or was it measles?
Or was it rubella?
I don't remember. I think it was measles actually. Mumps would be weird. You don't really hear about a lot of adults having mumps.
No, you don't.
The mumps.
Well, you especially don't because.
Yeah.
There's vaccination.
Are mumps and the measles the same thing?
I don't think so. I think, well, because mumps, measles, rubella, that's one shot.
Yeah, it's a combination of, but just probably separate childhood ailments.
Yeah.
Anyway, space. Yeah,
the final frontier.
The final frontier. Yeah, I don't know. They'd probably there's I don't know how a person from the late 60s would feel. If they'd probably be incredibly overwhelmed.
Oh yeah,
for a while. After a bit, though, after the shock wore off, they'd probably be pretty disappointed and shocked.
They'd be super stoked about certain things. But
yeah, again, like, oh, the Russians didn't end up murdering us. Cool. The Soviet Union's gone. Really? Awesome,
man. What are things in East Berlin like right now?
Pretty good.
In fact, there is no more East Berlin.
Yeah, it's just Berlin. It's just Germany now. How's everything? Well, people can't really go anywhere though because there's a stupid disease. You bring somebody from late 1918 to 2021, where if you didn't wear a fucking mask, you got put in jail. in like 1919 and shit during the fucking flu epidemic. There were places where you would be thrown in jail for not wearing a mask. It's like people didn't have fucking Twitter in 1919 to complain about it and get radicalized.
Wait, was it Kevin Bacon?
Was it? Yeah, it was Kevin Bacon in Apollo 13.
Yeah.
The brave astronauts of Apollo 13, Kevin Bacon, I almost said Cruise, Tom Hanks. Yeah. I almost said Sawyer as well.
Tom Sawyer
goes to the moon.
Somebody needs to fucking write that.
The lesser known Mark Twain novel of Tom Sawyer goes to the moon and causes some mischief. Causes some genuinely annoying mischief. Tom Sawyer was a little bastard.
Yeah. And Huck was worse.
Yeah. It's like, why? These kids are genuinely dickheads. If a kid came up to me and did any of that shit, I would be very cross. I wouldn't do anything about it because they're fucking kids. I'm not going to, punch a kid in the face.
Why not?
I don't know. That hurt my hand.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
Not because it's wrong to punch kids, just because I'd hurt my hand.
Right. I would hurt my hand punching a child.
I have fragile bones. So I was looking around for like what do people think of this album? Obviously, people think very highly of this album, but I think a number of the reviews on the Wikipedia page that were posted are retrospective sort of things.
Yeah.
This is considered to be one of the better rock albums ever made. Certainly one of the best prog rock albums ever made.
Yeah, you know what I noticed when I look at lists with this on it? Mm-hmm. It's like there's a battle between people who saying, what's the best prog rock album? Who's the best progressive rock album? And it's like everybody argues about which is the best.
Yeah.
Nobody argues about number 2.
Which is
this one.
Yeah. This is always number 2. Yeah. Number 1 is always, I imagine, Dark Side of the Moon.
Dark Side of the Moon, or what was there was a Moody Blues album that came out before this.
Yeah, that one was like the first prog rock album. Was that Moody Blues album, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
and most people consider that to be the first true prog rock album.
Right.
But yeah, this is always number 2, huh?
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of interesting. 1969, whatever, the June edition of Village Voice gave it a D+.
Gave it a D+.
Yeah, Village Voice gave it a D+ in 1969.
Did you read any of the review at all?
No, I'm sure it's available somewhere on the internet,
right,
but I'd probably really have to go digging for that and some sort of archive or database.
God, what was the movie that Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel just completely poo-pooed? It was a movie. I'm trying to remember what it was. And it turned out to be one of the top 10 grossing movies of all time because it was.
Yeah, I can't remember. I've heard this before, but I can't remember what movie it was specifically. I don't think either of them liked The Thing, which is a great movie.
Sure. Oh yeah, John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. I mean, the practical effects better than any digital effects nowadays.
Yeah, I think. There was no, it wouldn't have been I can't remember when Siskel and Ebert started doing stuff together.
70s, I think.
Okay, so they would have reviewed the Star Wars films then.
Perhaps.
I think neither of them were particularly keen on
on Star Wars,
on Empire Strikes Back in particular, which maybe that was the thing you were thinking of.
Maybe
because that's considered to be it's one of the highest grossing movies ever made, adjusted for inflation. Also considered one of the best movies ever made.
Yeah, and the best Star Wars movie. Yeah,
by far the best Star Wars movie. So I don't know. Oh, that reminds me. I saw a thing. I wanted to mention this earlier. I can't remember what I was looking at on YouTube, but I ended up in a rabbit hole on YouTube, and there was a dude who microwaved a Stretch Armstrong. Okay.
And then stuck it in a vacuum case.
All right.
And it blew up real big, and then he did it again, and he put a needle at the top, and he blew it up, and then Stretch Armstrong exploded, and he's laying there and just oozing goo coming out of just this dead-faced arm, which means that I'm going to have fucking nightmares for the next few nights
from watching this melting Stretch Armstrong.
Yeah.
A symbol of your childhood.
Yes.
Brought low in the most terrifying way possible.
I mean, even in the microwave, because it's mostly high fructose corn syrup inside him.
Yeah.
But you got that, and it started to boil inside of him, so it's just this
bubbling up and moving. That is pretty that's some fucking Cronenberg shit.
Yeah. It's like he was full of rats.
He's got a new movie coming out at some point.
Yeah.
That he and his son are working on. But it's got Leah Seydoux in it. She's Fleur from Harry Potter.
Okay.
But she's been in a bunch of other stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's supposedly pretty gruesome. I think it leans more into like the kind of classic Cronenberg body horror, where it's slightly more gross science fiction-y sort of thing, versus like more recent Cronenberg, which is stuff like History of Violence and Eastern Promises, where it's still basically body horror, but it's all shit that could actually happen to you, which makes it scarier. But
naked fighting Vigo.
Yeah. The comment though that I saw when people were posted the picture of like, oh, it's a still of from the movie, the top comment was, this is the first Strand type movie, because Leah Seydoux was in Death Stranding. And they're like, oh, this is just what if it's just Death Stranding the movie, which at some point Hideo Kojima is just gonna make a fucking movie.
Yeah.
At some just make a movie, Hideo. We know you want to. Or make a television show, because Lord knows he would not be able to pace out a movie, because
he can't pass out a video game.
the final cutscene of Metal Gear Solid 4, with no input from the player whatsoever, no buttons to press, no action to be taken whatsoever. From the moment control is taken out of your hands, it's like 35 minutes is the final cutscene of Metal Gear Solid 4.
Geez.
It's really cool, but it's a very, very, very long ending cutscene. Anyway, we were talking about King Crimson. What's your favorite song on the album?
It goes between the first one and the last one. It varies. But I also like Epitaph as well. But
yeah,
I think maybe it's going to be just the hardest rockin' song on there, which is 21st Century Schizoid Man.
Yeah, that one's kind of almost like we have to come hard out of the gate to keep people interested.
Right.
Is sort of the idea behind that song. Not that it doesn't have the amount of chops that everything else has, but it's like, okay, let's have something big and brassy and weird right out of the gate, and then we can sort of get into the even weirder, slower stuff. I really like Epitaph. It's my vibe. And we were talking about this, where there's a song called Nuclear by, do you remember who the artist was?
Mike Oldfield.
That was, speaking of Metal Gear Solid, was featured heavily to do with like stuff from Metal Gear Solid 5. And that song is the chorus of that song is so similar to Epitaph. It's bizarre. And like, not really being very familiar with that song and never having listened to this album before, I immediately picked up on that. And I was actually expecting to hear like, oh, maybe that other thing was like a cover of this, or was like a sample, or like a partial thing, or like a intentional sort of, what would the term be? Homage or something like that. But no, and like I was expecting Greg Lake to like really like let it out and like start belting a little bit or something like that.
Like in
Nuclear.
Right.
It's the way that chorus goes, but it never happened. And that's sort of like the way that this entire album is.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of musically blue balling you over and over again. It's sonically edging. It's sonic edging is what this whole thing is. Because like and that's a very prog thing to do, but like there's so many things where you never get resolution.
Right.
There's no resolution to this progression. It just stops or it changes.
It gets almost to the top and then it moves on to something else.
Yeah, it never releases. Things never boil over in a way that is frustrating but interesting. But this album is not is in most other ways not like a frustrating listen.
Right. No.
This is a very pleasant album to listen to and easy to listen to, even if it is in the last 8 minutes of Moonchild annoying. It's like, just get on with it. Just take me to the next song.
It was experimental music, and as we know, not all experiments
are successful. Yeah. That's absolutely true. And that's the thing that I kept reminding myself while I was listening to it. It was like, I keep wanting more out of this, but someone listening to this in 1969, they wouldn't know what more to expect.
Sure.
Like for me, having listened to so many other things that came after this, I expect those things that I hear in other stuff that I've listened to. But no, this is the blueprint. You can't expect more out of this because there was nothing more at the time. So you kind of have to appreciate it for what it is. And it's very good. I enjoy this greatly. What medal you're bestowing upon this, like Maz Kanata to Chewbacca?
I give it a gold.
Yeah. Historically, it deserves a gold. I'll probably listen to Epitaph a bunch more times. I'm not sure, this isn't one of those things where I think I'll come back and listen to the whole album over again. But because of that, it's a high silver for me, where it's like I'm coming back for one thing. I'm not coming back for the whole meal. I'm just coming back for the fries.
Ooh. I didn't get that dinner.
Okay. Well, go and get some fries.
I might.
Some fries, motherfucker. So next week we're continuing a non-metal September. With we're continuing a trek into
the Wonder Years.
Yeah, I'm wearing my Wonder Years sweatshirt. So we're having to delve further and further back into their back catalog because we've listened to most of their stuff. So we'll talk about 2010, 2011. I can't remember. Suburbia. I've given you all, and now I am nothing. It's a mouthful. Most fans just refer to it as Suburbia. But it was one of their first, like, more serious albums. It's not entirely. It's one of their last, like, straight up pop punk albums. Whereas, like, the one after that, The Greatest Generation, started to. Hi, sweetie. Hi, kitty. The next one sort of started to veer more into emo territory, and they've gone further and further down that road as their career in indie rock and stuff. They've gone further down that road as their career has gone on. But
they've gotten older.
They've gotten older, but there's still a lot of stuff on Suburbia that I really enjoy because it's not nearly as like tongue in cheek and like intentionally trying to be funny as The Upsides, which is the album that came before that. So I think you'll enjoy parts of it, at least.
Are they in their late 30s now, I suppose?
Not late 30s, probably I'd say mid. Let's see, Dan was 26 when The Greatest Generation came out, and that was 2013.
Oh, wow.
So
all right.
He'd be in his
early 30s
at this point. But because there's the line in Passing Through a Screen Door where he goes, Jesus Christ, I'm 26. All the people I graduated with all have kids, all have wives, all have people who care when they come home at night. And that's only getting more depressing for me as I get closer to 26 years old.
At your next birthday.
So, yeah. I now have a cat in my lap, so it's probably time for us to wrap up.
All right.
If you like what you hear, find our pages on Facebook and on Twitter and follow and like those pages. Is that a thing that you do? I don't know. Do whatever you need to do to get updates from those pages. We post episode links whenever they come out. Otherwise, subscribe to our feeds on your Apple Podcast app or on Libsyn's The Podcast Source, available in the Google Play Store for you Android users like me. Till you hear from us next time, thanks very much for listening to another episode of the Bronze Medalist Podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations!